Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Supergirl. A great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Kind of what I figured. We got Mr. We'll just call him Mixie because I literally kept saying his name, Mixopedalic. I kept saying it, but I still feel like I'm going to say it wrong. So let's just call him Mixie. Mixie's back. And they literally answered the question. I'm like, why do you look different? And he's like, literally, it's kind of like, I love what because there's clip shows in certain shows where they kind of like show you clips of the past. And I like what this show did with its version of a clip show. They kind of made it into a story development thing. We'll kind of get to in a second. But I love him being like, actually, he made himself look like that because he was trying to, please Kara and everything. But basically, he's kind of like almost on like probation. And so he's trying to like work down the list of all the people he's wronged, and he's trying to make things right, and Kara ends up being the last on the list. So he heard what she's saying. He's like popping up all over the apartment and everything, and it's like, all right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you an opportunity, basically fix things between you and Lena, because it's basically, I love at one point he's like, it is like, oh yeah, it is totally your fault, and I mean, it is your fault that everything kind of came down to this. But essentially, he's going to give her the ability to basically travel back in time, which I'm like, ooh, like, because even John and Alex are like, are you really sure you want to do this? Like, and which I'm like, you have a buddy who's done this whole trying to correct mistakes of the past. He knows more so than anyone the ramifications of like not screwing with time, like that things, there's always going to be a ripple effect. And I think that's such a neat element. Like, obviously, like, we got a lot of appearances I wasn't expecting. We got Monel, we got Sam / Rain, we got obviously Win is back. It's actually kind of interesting because that shows you in that timeline that means that Brainy never left, Brainy never stayed, and Win never left. So that's one thing. But just a lot, and I was like, holy crap. Okay, so breaking down to different things, like obviously Kara tries to tell Lena at different points. I love that Mixie kind of makes it like a movie night. He's got the popcorn ready and everything. He literally uses magic to send Alex and John off to like extreme like paintballing and whatever. And it's just like Alex being like, magic is great and running, and John's like, I'm coming at it. It's just like you're having fun. I'm like, I love that being what they're up to this episode. But literally the whole situation is going through like the different timelines of like different points in time to tell Lena the truth about you. Kara it doesn't work out because the first time she ends up telling Lena, what ends up happening is Lena ends up going to Metropolis to see Sam, to tell Sam about like, hey, like this is because for her it's a situation of like, now she kind of brings up everything about like, okay, so it still made her question Kara's like reasoning and stuff like now, because it's like this is after the the kryptonite situation, because this is after Sam was saved, because that particular time was in season 4. I even love Kara, like it's like the plane situation. It's like it's so cringy because you have to like watch your own life, and she's like, oh, like, I'm watching my mistakes. It's like, oh god, I'm such a terrible person. And Mixie is like, oh, you really are. And she looks at him, he's like, I'm just I wouldn't say that. I'm just saying what you were saying. I would never personally say that. But the fact of the matter is that whole situation is interesting because it's like, because she was there talking to Sam, because it's like, Supergirl was so hard on her about the whole kryptonite situation, but Kara was there, as a friend and everything. But now it just kind of makes her kind of question herself. And Sam's trying to be like, no, you're the hero at the end of the day because you did what you did. You sacrificed, you saved me. Because the whole thing that ended up being, because it ends up being an issue later on. Regardless, because I'm going to end up mixing up a lot of the different timelines and stuff like that. But one of those things is because she was there visiting Sam in Metropolis, she wasn't in National City, and she wasn't close enough to get there in time when Kara ends up getting poisoned by the kryptonite in the air and ended up dying because of it. And so it's like, okay, so that timeline's not too great because obviously, so Kara tries at a different point in time to tell Lena the truth about her. But sadly, in that timeline, it's like, well, things didn't 100% work out either, because by the time she ended up telling Lena about it, it was like, right, the whole Rain situation was in full effect. And it's like, I was so desperate to save Rain on my, Sam on my own, and I didn't know if I had anyone else to trust. You could have helped me with that, but you waited till now to tell me. But they let the whole situation play out because she ends up talking to Mon-El. She's like, I need his advice on this. And I love Mixie being like, I never understood what you saw in him or something like that. And she's clicking like, what? And I love that because, it's like a little winky nod because if you don't know, Chris Wood, the actor who plays Mon-El, and Melissa Benoist, the actress who plays Supergirl, are married in real life. So it's like, it's actually super adorable, that line. So I love it. But, it's like Mon-El talks about the fact is that, it's like he can understand where Lena comes from because it's like, hey, like they know what it's like to be betrayed by the person you love. Both of them were betrayed by their parents. But the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, what was it? He was basically saying like, you've forgiven all the mistakes that I've ever made, and the fact is, I've made some, and the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, you weren't doing the same thing our parents were, that me and Lena's parents. It's this sense of like, you hid the truth from her, you lied to protect her, and that puts you in the right, and so I think it was kind of nice for her to kind of hear Mon-El say that. So I think it's actually very befitting like Chris Wood would pop up because obviously because he's most recently been in Legacies. He returned as Kai. No spoilers on that department if you're not caught up with Legacies, which I guess me even admitting that but obviously they've been hinting in season 2 that he was potentially going to pop up anyway. But regardless, I just thought it was nice. Sadly, Lena does show up in time to help, and it seems like things are going to work differently because if I remember correctly, Rain ends up killing Sam's mom, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that ended up happening. And so I was like, it's like, hey, maybe her mom's going to survive in this timeline because Lena luckily shows up in time, and it's like, it's all works out. But then no, Lena ends up getting killed. Mon-El ends up dying, stopping Rain. So Rain ends up dying, but so does Mon-El. And it's like, obviously this doesn't work out. And obviously Kara and Mixie are both up there crying about this whole situation. It's like tears in their eyes, are wiping their tears and everything. So it's like, okay, obviously things didn't work out in that timeline. All right, so let's try a different point in time, going back to when basically Lena and Kara were kind of on the verge of becoming friends. Kara reveals to her, hey, actually, I'm Supergirl, because basically she had to go to our earlier point in time. I should mention it. I love that they were watching it on the TV, then a projector, and then on the computer because Mix Flex, and even the little layout. It's a look. Obviously, they had to distinctly change it. It looked like a combination of Mix Flex makes it look obviously Netflix, but it has a little aesthetics that. It seems like a combination of a lot of streaming sites. In particular, kind of definitely. It was just. I just love it. But it definitely it's so interesting because especially because the way it was layered out too. It was season 5, season 4, and you see the episodes and stuff. It was so good. I love that they did that. But nevertheless, I love the fact is that it's in this particular time, when they were on the verge of becoming friends, Kara ends up telling her the truth, and it's why would you tell me that? It's because I know you want to do good and I trust you, and because of that, and I love the spinning things of it's Lex and Clark things that work out, and Superman and Clark things that work out, but it's we can do good together, and it's they shake on it and everything, and then Mixie has those spinning newspapers talking about all that Lena and Kara stopped together. Even the whole bang situation and it's bangs are in demand because it's Lena convinced the girl of steel to cut her hair of steel. Even got her a new suit. So her new suit that she has this season, Lena's actually the one that gave it to her in this alternate timeline. So it's everything works out. It's holy crap, everything is actually good. It's well, there's complications with that because it's it worked out, but then going further in that timeline, it turns out, Ben Lockwood, Agent Liberty, ends up confronting Lena because basically in this new because for one, Lillian is trying to force Lena to reveal. It's Lillian got arrested, but now it's a situation of because of that, it's the person being arrested has a right to know their they're arresting officers. So it's like, oh, tell me Supergirl's identity in open court, and she's like, I plead the fifth. And like outside, like the dude Koval who was like, you know, that Church of Rao and everything. It turns out in actuality now he kind of worships Supergirl and and Luthor's, because it's like, oh, they become this amazing combination and they're kind of worshipped like that. And it's like interesting. Sadly, it has a negative byproduct, which is interesting because that means obviously like he survived the whole rain situation. Like obviously everything ended up working out more positively in that situation. But in this case, it is a thing of, because of all of that, Ben ends up blaming her, Lena, because it's like, hey, look, you're because of Supergirl, because of like this religion, my dad got mixed up in it. He built a church and everything. My wife and my son ended up killing themselves because they ended up jumping, thinking that the Girl of Steel was going to save them. And once again, it kind of circling back to like when Superman or even Supergirl are worshipped as gods, and just like people kind of go into extremes because they cult like belief, and just being like, oh, like, you know, worshiping this person is it. I mean, which she isn't a god. She's an alien girl from a different planet just trying to do good, and she can't be everywhere at all times, you know. So that's a whole thing. And Ben is pissed about that, and it's like, I need you to tell me Supergirl's identity. Lena won't, but it turns out, oh, Otis is there, because let's not forget he was working with Ben because of the whole Lex situation. But at the end of the day, you know, he's so adamant about trying to prove Supergirl isn't a god, because he needs her to be brought down to a level of like, if they know that she lived a regular life, people wouldn't believe in her so wholeheartedly. So, and because of that, it's like Supergirl has to reveal her identity. And, you know, obviously Kara was because now it's like her worst nightmare is coming true, because someone knows her identity. Now the people she cares about are being threatened. But because of that, Wynn kind of convinces her, no, it's going to be okay. We've all literally prepared for this because of you. Like, the fact of the matter is, the only thing that matters now is saving Lena. So Kara reveals herself to the world, which I'm like, dude, this is interesting. Luckily, Lena was saved, along with Colville, but it's like, oh, so like, it's like, oh, it kind of worked out in the end. And, you know, Mixie's like, maybe we should fast forward a little bit. Fast forward, it turns out literally everyone she cares about ends up getting tracked down and killed by Agent Liberty. That includes Cat. Grant was like the first one. I'm like, oh, that sucks. So it's like, okay. And so now it's a situation of, I can't, like, every time she tries to tell Lena the truth, it basically all backfires. So it's like, maybe I should have never been friends with Lena in the first place. Do you want to see that? And she's like, no, but I need to. And she ends up in a world where her and Lena never became friends. And because of that, because Lena didn't have her, Lena kind of like, things didn't work out because she wasn't friends with Lena. She didn't actually show up to save her. And because of that, like, Lena went down a dark path. Like, there are Lexo suits with Hope written on it. So that must mean at some point she created the AI of Hope, and now that's kind of part of her system. We end up finding out later on too that actually Rain exists in his universe still and is actually serving Lena, and Brainy's on her side too. So the Watchtower is a thing, and Mixie's there, but Mon-El recognizes, like, oh, you're the one that tried to force Kara to marry. He's like, yeah, I'm 100% wrong, like, using magic to kind of, you know, clearly she wasn't into it, so I shouldn't have pushed as hard as I did, but he's trying to make up for it. But obviously Mixie can't help them because he doesn't have his magic in his universe, so it's like, okay, so what's going on here? So now it turns into a situation of Lena knows what's up, and it's like, oh, the terrorist Supergirl, she's got a fifth dimensional being that could cause so much destruction. So Rain and Brainy show up, and I love that whole, like, dude, John and Kara fighting Rain, and then Kelly and Nia, like, they're like, Nia, Alex, and Kelly are fighting Brainy, and you're like, Brainy, you don't have to do this. He's like, I know I don't, but I think I'm gonna enjoy doing it. I'm like, dude, he's full-blown Brainiac right now. So that was really interesting. Kind of seeing the dark side of this whole situation. And obviously, like, Mon-El ends up going off with Mixie and Wynn to go find the hat, because it turns out Hat from season 4 was, because obviously I think they referenced the fact that it was fifth dimensional. It didn't correlate in my head. It's like, he was like, oh yeah, because he lost that game to him. I was like, oh, that's your hat, because Mixopidalic, he has traditionally his character design includes like a purple hat. So it's like, that's your hat. It's like, it didn't correlate in my head because it's like, I think, like I said, I think they referenced the fact is that it was fifth dimensional, but I don't think it correlated in my head back in season 4. But now it makes total sense. I'm like, oh my God, that's totally Mixie's hat. That's so interesting. But obviously things are not, because Supergirl, goes off to go, join up with Lena to try and confront Lena. And the sad thing is because of everything, like Lex had tried to kill her, and it's like because of that, Supergirl wasn't there to save her. Her mom got her body and experimented on her, which is super messed up on Lillian's part. I mean, to be fair, we never actually found out what happened to Lillian. I wonder, did she actually straight up kill Lillian at some point in time in this particular timeline? But the fact is, she definitely killed Lex. But as it turns out, her mom made her into a Metello. It's like all this stuff that happened, you weren't there. So at the, it's like, where were you when I needed you? I know I wasn't there at those times. She's like, I'm sorry. But Lena's going full-blown Luthor. She's going ruling with an iron fist, and she ends up striking Kara with this kryptonite. She's like, you're gonna feel my pain. And Kara's like, I'm not gonna fight you. And she's like, well, you're gonna scream, your screams are gonna echo when I'm killing you. So at the same time, Mon-El ends up getting the staff for John, and John ends up killing Rain. So it's like things sadly don't work out in that department. We saw also, side note, it's also pretty dope because that means that Kelly still ends up getting the shield. So either something happened to Jimmy or Jimmy still ultimately ended up leaving. Because apparently in this timeline, Lena disappeared for like 2 years. I guess that's while like Cadmus was, in particular her mom in particular, was working on her. So I guess that's what that kind of ended up being. But it's a sad situation. Luckily, reaching into the hat, Mixie was able to kind of undo everything. So they find themselves back in reality. He's like, all right, so let's go back and try and find the right time. And she's like, no. You've basically taught me that basically I can't feel guilty about this anymore. The fact of the matter is, it's like no matter what I ended up doing, there was always going to be consequences no matter what, major ones. So it's like maybe this particular timeline is the lesser of evils because it's like no matter what Kara does, I mean, once again, that's something Barry probably would, but that at the end of the day, it's a lesson everyone's got to learn for themselves, that you can't change the past because because to be fair, everything led you to be who you are right now, where you are right now. And like, and obviously everything shows, for one, it also shows keeping your secret identity is super important because it does matter. Because I mean, hell, look at Oliver. Oliver's known to the world as a Green Arrow, but it's still, it had its own challenges too. And obviously it had challenges for Kara in that alternate timeline. So, but Mixie, she's like, no, don't worry, Mixie. Actually, you did help me in the long run. And I think for him, he recognizes. I thought it was kind of a beautiful element of him realizing, like, yeah, he realizing that he doesn't have to kind of use his magic kind of the way he has been before. So for him, it was also the conversation about like how it was hard being an imp and everything like that. So for him, it's like he never actually had any friends, so this situation kind of made him kind of feel like he had, because he was just overcompensating for the fact that he was lonely, is kind of what that whole car situation came down to. And now he kind of felt kind of having friends, and this whole adventure actually kind of was exciting for him. So I'm really curious. Hopefully we do run into Mixie at some point. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna go to New Orleans and Mardi Gras in the 80s, 1780s, and kind of snaps away. But he leaves a video being like the one, because there was like what was it? Basically, were things from like the over the course of the series. I took note of them, but I don't remember them now. But like the last tape he leaves is like, oh yeah, because he had recorded them on because Mixflex was kind of acting up, so he recorded everything on Betamax. Why that specifically? Why not just be like, I don't know, not even DVD. You went all the way back to Betamax, but okay. But the fact of the matter is, it's like the last tape was the one where Lena works with Lex, and then she goes over to Lena. I was like, oh, you're going to show her the tape? Is it going to be like, oh, this is what's going to end up happening if you keep working with Lex? No. It ends up being really interesting. She's like, oh, are you here to ask me to kind of, forgive you, or are you telling me not to work with Lex? She's like, actually, neither one. The fact of the matter is, and I love this line, I'm done feeling guilty about your bad choices. I was like, whoa, because Kara's like, I made mistakes, sure, but I can't go back and change that. What you do going forward is going to be on you. You can't use me as an excuse for anything that you do from now on. Yeah, like, I was like, holy shit. I was like, yeah. It's like, yeah. Because at the end of the day, despite how you might feel about Kara, yeah, she made mistakes, but to be fair, she did the best that she could. The fact of the matter is, she's seen also, like, no matter what happens, there was always going to be consequences. So these are the choices she made, and she's deciding to live with them. And I love that line of like, so your choices are, your actions are on you now. You're the one that's going to have to take responsibility for it. So if you do forgive me, I will help you with the best of my ability. But if you choose to continue working with Lex, doing whatever you're going to do, I'm going to, use all my power to stop you like I would any other villain. I was like, dude, I was like, yeah. I was like, holy shit, that was a powerful moment, dude. I thought that was so great. Cause I was like, yeah, she's been riddled by this guilt with Lena, but it's like, she has nothing to be guilty about. And now it's like, and now Lena has to keep in mind, like, she thinks she's doing everything for the greater good. If anything goes wrong, any bad, it is 100% on you, because it's like, yeah, I might have lied to you, but that doesn't give you the right to literally work with the person you know is the worst person in the world. You're giving into that Luther side of you because you're angry and because I betrayed you and this and that, and it's like, that was just a powerful moment. I was like, holy shit, dude. And to have, because Kara, and like, I think Kara had the right to say that too. It's like, yeah, like and now you see that look in Lena's face, because I think there was a part of her that was like, her saying that made her go like, it made her feel a little guilty, because it's like, I've been putting all this blame on you for keeping this secret from me, and now you're telling me that you would treat me like any other villain. And it's like, because like, Kara's like, I'm not going to let our relationship change. The fact is that if you cross the line, I will be there to stop you, because you working with Lex will put you down a path of being a villain, and I'm the hero in this situation, not you. You've lost your way, you've strayed, so I don't know, dude, that was so good. And then for her to be with Alex and John at the end, and for her to be kind of like, you guys are like, what's that smile about? And for her, it's like, look at us together. You guys have literally been by my side since I became Supergirl. And it is sweet and beautiful to see it all come full circle in that regard. To see like this trio together still and everything. So, them celebrating. I thought it was beautiful. And we see a little like blue dust outside. So it's a whole thing of like, it was like a life lesson type of situation, but at the same time, you're like, was it all on purpose? Did Mixie do it all on purpose, or did he kind of learn something from, like, because that's what I was thinking, like, even when he lost his powers, I was thinking that was still part of the thing. That's the thing you never know about Mixie. It seemed like maybe it accidentally all went according to plan. It wasn't, he wanted to help out and everything, and he did, but yeah. I think it's definitely going to be neat. Hopefully we get to see Mixie going forward, especially if Thomas Lynn is going to be playing him, because I think it's actually pretty dope, because I think he does a really, really good job playing Mixie, so I would love to see him kind of pop back up at some point in the future, so I think that's kind of neat. Once again, it's just like, the fact is we're dealing with the fifth dimension after like dealing with crisis and everything, so it's just all working together so beautifully, so I'm so excited to see where the next episode is going to take us with all this. It's actually interesting because I didn't talk about it, but it's like, well, we saw full-blown evil Brainy under the control of Lena and everything, and said Brainy is working with Lex, so it's almost a byproduct of like, yeah, things are not going to work. I mean, it's interesting because like, he's kind of like Lex's right-hand man right now, which is interesting considering he was one of Lena's right hands, and that also time, like, because even Nia was like, yeah, she cared about him, but now that Brainy that she kind of like cared for is no longer there, and ends up having to fight him. So that, even though it's an alternate timeline, I still think like there's elements to that could be potentially carried over, and just like parallels to that carried over going forward in each regard. So either way, I'm really interested to see where all this ultimately ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.